Oh, not for profile completeness. You can still upload a resume if you're a job seeker, but you don't need that anymore. It's not necessary.
Thank you.
All right. Anything else before we move along?
No.
Okay. All right, so we're going to talk about headlines and profile photos first, and the reason is those are the most visible sections of your profile. As you can see from the desktop and mobile view here, everyone sees, you know, if they're pulling your profile up right at the top, they're going to see your photo, your background photo, which for Greg is this skyline of Houston, Dallas. I've never been to Texas. And then the headline. And so these are really important pieces of real estate on your profile. And I just kind of wanted to give you a quick overview of what they look like. I know you're all familiar, but it'll kind of, you know, help you visualize as we move forward with some of these pieces. So first, we're going to talk about the headline here. All right. Headline is prime real estate. And not only because it shows up, you know, on mobile or desktop when people are looking up your profile, but anytime you comment on someone's post, or you know, you add a post to LinkedIn, anything like that, your headline shows. And so you want to make sure that it's conveying your value and what you do. You can
Someone mute themselves, please.
Okay, there we go. And so these are some examples of some headlines that kind of meet best practice. In a minute, we'll go over a couple of formulas to create a headline on your own. But the other really important piece of headlines are the keywords are really heavily weighted in LinkedIn's algorithm according to research on the topic. So, you know, you want to make sure that you're adding the most important keywords that you want to be found for in your headline, and don't just have your current title and your current company, because it doesn't give enough information. You really have an opportunity to build this out a little more. So this top one is mine: executive resume writer, LinkedIn profile optimizer, helping clients stand out in the modern job market. So it's what I do and the value that I bring. Other people's, you know, talent acquisition recruiter, enabling nursing and allied health programs to attract, retain, recruit top educators. So it's what she does, who she helps, and the value that she brings. You know, to kind of give you an idea. This gentleman, maybe, you know, some of you are aware of him, but he does cybersecurity training. And so his LinkedIn headline cracks me up because it's really showing, you know, one of the things that comes up in his business a lot. It's a little bit funny, it's a little bit out of the box, but then he also has his keywords. So, you know, cybersecurity awareness training, things like that.
So Deborah?
Yes.
What do you think about lines or icons or arrows in the headlines or things like that?
So that's a great question. I like lines and arrows because it kind of breaks up a big block of text. That leads nicely into the other thing is, you know, these headlines are all based on the old 120 character limit. A few months ago, they upped that to 220 characters, including spaces. Now, quick caveat to that is, I think 220 characters, this is my personal opinion, is way too long. It looks really clunky when you're looking at a LinkedIn headline. It's too much. It's kind of word overload, and people are just going to skip it. I think, you know, like if you want that extra character, you know, 175 tends to be a really good number. You get extra keywords in there without it being overwhelming to the reader. But I like arrows. I like the lines. It kind of, you know, it breaks the text up a little bit. I'm not a big fan of emojis just in general. I mean, that's my own personal opinion. It came up the other day on LinkedIn. Someone had asked, you know, whether emojis in the name or the headlines are a good thing. You know, most people that responded actually like them. I don't, but that's my opinion.
Is there also a way to post something and have it go through multiple platforms if you're on LinkedIn, sending it to Twitter or Facebook or somewhere else? Are there any best tools for that?
Do you mean like if you're going to post like a
like to send the post? Let's say you have Hootsuite or something like that. I mean, are there good tools that you can have that can automate it for you?
Can I speak to clarify the question?
Go ahead.
Yeah, well, I don't know the ones, but I know there's ways to post across different platforms. Like you post once and it goes to Twitter, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you're in LinkedIn and want to post to go to different groups, is there a way to just post it once and have it automatically go to different groups? Is there anything anybody's aware of?
So I believe Hootsuite does it. I know if you're posting something in LinkedIn, you can also post to Twitter, which is, automatically, which is how I do that. To be honest though, I only use LinkedIn and Twitter. I'm not a Facebook or Instagram user.
And no, my question is, if you post in a general trend, what happened is somebody posted something in a trend in LinkedIn, and
Okay.
then they went into a group and didn't see it. They thought it got automatically transferred into
You
the
have to
group.
share it to a group.
Is there any way to do it once and then share it to different groups without cutting and pasting into each group?
I'm going to say no because I think LinkedIn used to frown upon that. Again, that's a functionality question. I can definitely bring it up and see if LinkedIn is working on it. But right now, I think it's just a cut and paste to each group you want to do it in.
Yeah, it came up in a different group. I thought about a couple of the people. I was thinking, Lynn, I missed her workshop this morning. Just saw it, and then I'm like, wait, Ken Lang and a thing on LinkedIn. Let me try here. Okay, sorry to interrupt about it. Thanks a lot.
No, that's great. I mean, because they've been kind of hiding groups more and more and more, I haven't been doing anything in groups anymore because it's kind of pointless. When posts, in my experience, when posts go into groups, they go there to die. So I don't do that anymore.
So Deborah, is this presentation also one of the things you're going to be sharing?
Yes, I can absolutely share the presentation. No problem.
Okay, great, thanks.
Yep, I can share the slide deck directly after the call.
Sure, I'm just following on questions, great.
Oh, perfect. Okay, so we're going to spend a little time on this, the headlines. So there's a couple different formulas you can use for this. If you want to think about how you would optimize your own headline, one I like is industry plus job title and then your value or expertise. Again, in that 175-ish sweet spot range, my opinion, but you've got up to 220 characters. Job title plus value to your audience. And then title, company name, doing what for whom. This is a good one for people who are doing business development or you're looking to grow your client list. The title of, what you do, president, CEO, whatever it is, company name, the value that you add, and who your ideal clients are. So if you want to take a couple minutes to kind of jot some thoughts on that down, feel free. If you want to get wild and crazy, you can add them to the chat. We can, kind of critique and think about it. I saw one today that made me laugh out loud because it was ridiculous, but did hit best practice. So job title plus value to your audience, a gentleman who I have no idea why he even has a LinkedIn profile, but it said retired in all caps, and then a line, don't ask me for a damned thing. And so it cracked me up because I'm like, yes, his job title retired, value to his audience, absolutely nothing, don't bother him. It hit the mark, really. All right, any questions about that or anything else while people are jotting down some thoughts before we move on?
Is there a best practice on the number of characters to use for a headline? I know that you can go up to 220. I think you said 170 to 180 around there.
Yeah, I tend to cap out at about 175. 220 just looks really long and clunky to me. My opinion, you can go up to 220, but I just don't think it looks good. I think it's a little bit overwhelming with too many words. But yeah, so my sweet spot is like that 120 to 175.
Okay.
Hi, Deborah. This is Akriti.
Hello.
Hey, so I had a question about headlines. I'm really struggling with headlines because I'm transitioning from one field to another. So could you give me some suggestion how I could frame that? So I recently relaunched my career in HR and I've transitioned from psychology.
So that's a great point, and I'm glad you brought it up because a lot of people are in transitions right now, and I've seen a lot of people put seeking a new opportunity or open to new opportunities. And I know this isn't answering your question, but I will get around to that. I would say I don't suggest adding seeking a new opportunity or things like that. First of all, it's 26 characters. So it's taking up a lot of valuable real estate and it's not really moving the needle. It's more important to show what you're doing, what type of work you're interested in or what type of work you do versus the seeking a new opportunity. But for someone who's transitioning careers, it's helpful to maybe add that to the headline, transitioning to HR focused in, employee retention, culture, whatever it is. And that way, you can add a headline to what you're doing now and what you're focusing on versus what you used to do in the past. That's okay. And that'll help you, you know, kind of, that means people will see you as an HR professional, not in psychology. Does that make sense?
Yeah, got it. That actually makes a lot of sense. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I'm glad you brought that up because it brought up a good point. The other thing is you know, I don't like adding a ton of superlatives that take a lot of words or a lot of characters to something like, you know, dedicated, accomplished, detail oriented, things like that aren't helpful and they're not really moving the needle for you either. All right, any other questions before we move along?
Sort of trying to write it for you and for Ken, not for everybody else. And you know, one of the things that I tend to use when I start a discussion, and does that what I'm doing to start really get me to where I want somebody to listen to?
I mean, I would say this, if anyone has any suggestions, and Deb, could they follow up with you after if about some brainstorming? Would that be something you'd be open to?
Absolutely, yes. If anyone has some, you know, questions or you want to go through options or you want to, you know, get a second opinion if you put some things together, absolutely. Everyone, I encourage you all to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I added my my profile in the chat. Let me know if you need it again, but, you know, in a message, send me your thoughts on the headline. I'm happy to help.
Great.
All right, we're going to talk background photos now. Now, I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this because I know that Lynn Williams gave a great talk about LinkedIn graphics the other day. So, you know, if anyone wasn't in that call, definitely watch her recording, look at her, her slide deck because it was excellent. But I want to talk about the importance of the background photo is really my point here today. It's a really important way to differentiate your profile from your competitors or other candidates. So you can see a couple of options here in the top left. We've got something that really highlights this woman's business. She's a recruiter, so, you know, 100 best companies to work for, ranked #1. Hilton's probably not doing a ton of recruitment anymore. That could probably get updated a little bit, but you know, so you can see that she really, and she created something in Canva, which I know Lynn talked about the other day, but it's a free service to create graphics for social media. I love it. It helps someone who's completely graphically designed, impaired, and be able to create something really easily. You can also,
excuse me, what was the name of that again?
Canva. It's canva.com. And it's great. It's free, and I use it for a ton of things, but LinkedIn backgrounds is definitely one of them. You'll get sucked in and play with it. You can also, off topic, create and print business cards through there too, or any kind of, you know, like business info, you know, like stock that you need. But I created business cards and they came in this fun box and I opened it and it had, I'm not even kidding you guys, confetti and like a thank you card, and it made ordering business cards super fun, like I was getting a gift. So anyway, so this person in the top right used her background photo to really show off her, like the inside of her place of business. This person in the bottom left, you know, this is just I happen to know her, so I know what the picture is, but it's just a location that means a lot to her. And so, you know, you can also, you know, if you don't want to go out and create something in Canva or find a shot that you took, that's totally fine. I suggest going to a site like unsplash.com and downloading a different photo that, you know, anything, literally any location, like a cityscape, things like that, or a different texture, even if it's abstract or a different color, anything will help set you apart from, say, this woman who just has the LinkedIn blue, and then you look like a sea of other people in the LinkedIn blue.
And you can also use word art. I think Lynn referred to word art also, where you can do word stories behind the picture as well.
Yes, that was a great suggestion by Lynn. That word art was a great suggestion. I definitely, if you guys are going to start playing around with your background photo, checking out her presentation, if you haven't already seen it, will definitely be helpful. All right. So any questions about background photos before we head to profile photos? Everybody good? All right. Okay, so we're going to talk about profile photo best practices. I'm going to spend a little time on this because I think it's super, super important. Because again, and I know we talked about it the other day, but or earlier, but the profile photo is your first impression for so many people. And those of us that either are looking for remote work or our clients are all online, like the majority of mine are, you know, our online profile photo is the first impression and sometimes the only time they'll ever see you. So how do you want your clients or potential employers, you know, how do you want them to see you? How would you walk into an interview? How would you walk into a client's office? That's what you need to be dressed as. That's what you need to be wearing. You don't have to have a professional headshot taken by someone. I do say, you know, if you have the means to do that or you're doing it for business development purposes, it is a good investment. I've actually gotten new clients who have called me and said, I saw your photo and I knew you were the one. So I actually have, like, I'm not just saying one client, a few clients. I told my photographer, I have like actual ROI provable to point back to my headshot. But I also put a blog post together on how to take a professional headshot at home. So I'm happy to share that link after the call in the chat in case anyone wants some information on that. But best practice on LinkedIn for the photo is a close up to your face. So you can see all of these people here have photos that are mostly their face. They're smiling. Smiling photos, according to studies they've done on what performs best with audiences, you know, a smiling photo close to your face with a neutral background, you know, really helps move the needle. So like this gentleman in the upper left, I'm going to assume is a professional headshot. This gentleman in the lower right, I loved his photo because he used Canva or something else and added a circle, like a graphic circle around it. So it really made it pop on his profile. That blue is something he added to his headshot. It really looked nice. This person in the middle bottom cracked me up because she is a field researcher in Antarctica. So that is how she looks at work. And so for that purpose, it really, it did me best practice and it made me laugh. But this person in the upper middle, I know her too, so I know this. She had her picture taken at home in front of a piece of artwork in her dining room. So, you know, you don't have to get wild and crazy, just make sure you're doing it with intention. And so we're going to talk about some of the things that I tend to see more often than not as far as things on LinkedIn for profile photos that you want to try to avoid. But I wanted to start with the good ones. So this is something we should try to strive for. And here's some things that I see a lot that are not helpful. These are all real profile photos. And I just want to point out a couple of things to avoid. So this gentleman, I think, in the upper left-hand corner is kind of a twofer. You want to make sure you don't have multiple people in your profile photo because you want people to know which one is you, so that they can identify with you and start, you know, maybe mentally forming a relationship. And you also, you don't want it to be so far away. Again, we talked about best practice being about 80% of your face and about 20% background. You can't really connect personally with someone that you know, he's so far away you can't see him. Blurry photos, like the next one next to him, and photos in the car. I don't know why people do this. Take a photo outside. Quit adding photos from your car. I don't know what that is about. I saw one the other day, a gentleman, very professional, great look. He was wearing a suit and a tie. He had a seatbelt on though. It was totally distracting. So avoid that. Don't be the guy next to her. That's a real photo. I'm not really sure what's going on there, but nothing says I have no idea how to use my computer, like just adding a third of your face. And then make sure you have good lighting. So, you know, this gentleman in the top right-hand corner looks really excited. You know, he looks friendly and engaging and, you know, ready to hit the ground running, but you can't see him. And so make sure, you know, when you take your photo, make sure you've got decent lighting because it really makes a huge difference. This gentleman or this woman in the lower left, real quick, ladies, this is something that, you know, we need to think about as women, but men don't need to think about. Make sure there's no question as to whether you're wearing a top. This comes up a lot. This woman is wildly professional. What she was wearing, if you could see all of her, was completely appropriate. She was fine. But because you don't see her undershirt in the photo because of the way it's cropped, it, you know, just make sure that people can see that, you know, shoulders and things like that and chest are covered. Next to her is a cat. This guy was a software engineer, so there's no reason to have a cat. I don't know what that was about. And then next to that, so we need to make sure that we're looking at the camera. So this is a great shot of this gentleman, and actually it would have made a really nice background photo, kind of like Ken has, where he's standing up pointing at the LinkedIn logo. But for a headshot, it's not personal enough. It's too far away. You know, people can't really connect.
What about with COVID and working from home? Is it okay to replace a picture should it still be a suit and tie picture? Can it be more casual? Does it make a difference?
So that's a great question. I would say, I had a client ask me that today. I would say still, however you want to be seen with your clients. So, even if I'm doing a Zoom call with a client, I still want to be dressed as if I were meeting them in person. And so, if you're in banking, still wear a suit and tie. If you're in tech, you can kind of wear whatever suits you, whatever you want your clients to kind of take away from that. But that's a great question, Ken. And then don't crop other people out of the picture where they were clearly in the picture. Take a picture with intention is my whole point to this. So I just wanted to show you some of the things that not just these individual people, but I see all the time elements of these things. Don't just pick a picture from a party that you really like your hair that day. Go and, do your hair and makeup and take a photo with intention. Don't crop your friend's picture and just have the armpit in your LinkedIn photo. Any other questions about photos?
What about posing right or left? Some have said you should be posed as if your body's facing right.
Interesting. I haven't seen any research on it. The only thing I have seen research on is that straight ahead looking at the camera performs the best. So as far as whether you should be to the right or to the left, I haven't seen any research on it, but that's interesting. If you want to get wild and crazy and kind of fall down a rabbit hole online, I don't know if you're familiar with Photo Feeler, but it's free as well. And you can upload a couple of photos of yourself, up to 3, I think, and have random strangers on the internet tell you how professional, competent, friendly you look, and then they can rate a photo. And so for my headshot, actually, I had a different one that I liked better, but I posted 3 options on Photo Feeler, and overwhelmingly the internet chose the one that I ended up posting. So, if you're kind of getting in your own head about what to add, Photo Feeler is kind of a fun activity if you have a little time on your hands.
Great.
All right. And I know we spent a lot of time on photos, but it is so important that I wanted to kind of dig in. Okay. Ken, this probably looks really familiar to you. I had to update a little bit. We're going to talk about the About section. It's really important for a couple of reasons. It's really visible in your LinkedIn profile. It's one of the top things, once they start scrolling down, the top 3 lines are what people see first, and then they can click to view more. So make sure that either that top 3 lines are so engaging that people click to see more, or you get out all of the major information you want to make sure people know about you in those top 3 lines. So this is Ken's. He did a great job, adding what he does and who he does it for. And so I used his because mine isn't up to date yet with the top 3 lines. I only have 2 lines, and that wasn't helpful. But the About section also is part of having 100% complete profile. So you want to make sure that you have an About section. And then and this one's mine, but this is a zoomed out. I don't expect you to be able to read it. I want to talk about format. This is a zoomed out version of my whole About section. And, when you're writing that, think about a couple things. No one is going to read your About section word for word, or your experience sections, or anything really. The only people that really care about our content is us, right? So we want to make sure that it's easily scanned with the eye, and your reader can just quickly scan through and get all the information that they need. So small chunks, no huge paragraphs. I like bullets. If you want to get, if you want to add emojis here or something to make it a little bit more fun, add some personality. If you're a job seeker, this is a great opportunity to add hobbies and personality. For me, you'll notice most of my About section is about my business, not about my experience, because my purpose for LinkedIn is business development and thought leadership, not about job seeking. And so the purpose of my LinkedIn About section is a little different. If you were a job seeker, it would be, a little more about your experience, your, top 3 career achievements, adding reach out, to learn more. Ken had a really great suggestion the other day in one of his posts about the About section on adding a link to schedule on your calendar. I thought that was awesome. Haven't done it yet, but it was a great idea. And then the other thing is you want to make sure that the About section adds your top keywords, because it is also heavily weighted in LinkedIn's algorithm for keyword searching. So make sure, you know, for me, specialties include, and then that isn't really for humans to read. It's really for me, for the algorithm to pick up the things that I want to be found for. So, so this is what your LinkedIn About section should look like. You know, bullets when you can, short paragraphs, contact information, and keywords, and personality if you're job seeking. All right. And then.
Question, sorry.
Oh, yeah.
How long should it, I mean, from a readability standpoint, I think it was a comment about the About section shouldn't take longer than a minute to read. Is that a best practice in terms of how long someone might actually scan it?
So great question. I haven't seen the research on it. I know the limit is 2,000 characters. I'd have to check. I don't know how many characters mine is, but mine's probably pretty close to 2,000. And I think, you know, if it's a little bit longer than a minute to read, just make sure that you have all the sections that someone may want to read. You know, people may skip over my recent clients, but they may want to scroll down to my contact information. And then the specialties, I don't expect anyone to read, you know, the keywords. So I think, you know, making sure that it's formatted in a readable way is probably more important than trying to keep the content down to a certain amount, because you also don't want to shoot yourself in the foot in terms of, you know, keywords. If you add less content, there'll be less to find in there.
Sounds definitely great.
Okay, experience section. So this, you know, a couple things. You can add now, or, you know, for a long time, you can add a couple things. Again, this is really set for business development, but the headline, or the title rather, instead of just adding your current title, you know, if you maybe have a title that doesn't reflect what you actually do or is not really industry standard, you can add a couple more words, because the title is an important place for the LinkedIn algorithm too for keywords. So for me, co-founder and executive resume writer is typically what I put on business cards, things like that. But LinkedIn profile writer, it was another keyword I wanted to add because it's really important and it helps me show up in searches. And so you can add more information to your title. You've got more characters there. I think, don't quote me, but like 165 or something, to add more content there. The other thing is you can add images, links, videos, things like that to this too. You know, very few people are actually going to click on that stuff, but it does add visual interest to your profile. It just kind of elevates the look and feel, because some of this is about optimization from a keyword standpoint, and some of this is just about optics to make sure that we look like fully adult professionals, right? And so these, you know, look for websites to add, you know, if it's your own company or whether, you know, your current company. The other thing is not every website uploads correctly. So I would say if the homepage doesn't look right, maybe try a few other pages within the website. It, you know, maybe Ken can correct me here. I've not found a way to fix that. If it doesn't upload correctly, there's really nothing you can do. And so either just maybe upload company logo or something else, or just skip it. But if possible, it's great to upload, you know, the website pages. Okay, and then a couple more points about the experience section. Same thing with the About section: bullets, short paragraphs, keywords. You know, make sure you're keeping all of those things in mind. And then don't list roles older than about 15 or 20 years, because we want to make sure that we're not aging our profiles. There's no reason, you know, people don't care what we did in the 80s or early 90s. All it's doing is aging us. It's not helpful. So, you know, try to remove some of those things. Also, you know, if you did a role that maybe you don't want to focus on, this is not a resume. You don't have, well, and even resumes, you don't have to include everything you've ever done.
What?
I'm sorry? Oh, okay. So, you know, if there's a role that doesn't really add to your career story, that's fine. Just remove it. An employment date issue is not really as big of an issue on LinkedIn. So, you know, rather than adding something confusing in there, just take it out. All right, any questions about experience? All right, moving along. So yeah, keep doing this for every role that you want to include, back to about 15 years.
Quick question. Does
Oh, yeah.
this rule apply to resumes don't go back more than 15 to 20 years? And how would you show experience without showing dates?
So great question. On LinkedIn, unfortunately, and it makes me insane because it only adds to ageism, there's no way to add experience sections without dates. But if there's experience, like if I have a client who in their LinkedIn profile wants to show work that they did, you know, in the 80s or early 90s because they worked for a prominent company or did really interesting work, we don't add it to the experience section because you have to add dates, but I would add it into the about section. So early career roles include doing this for that company, doing that for that company. So add it into your about section. So it's still part of your career story, but that it's not making, say, the 22-year-old HR recruitment sourcers who are doing their first round of vetting say, oh my God, my parents weren't even born then, because that's not helpful. Did that make sense?
Yes.
Okay, great. Okay, education. This should be fairly self-explanatory, but I want to bring up a couple things that I tend to see a lot. When you're doing your education sections, make sure that you link to the school. Sometimes people will put the school name in, but maybe not, you know, exactly the same title, and then they don't link so that the logo comes up. But make sure that you do that for a couple reasons. It helps just, you know, legitimize the school you're going to, show the logo, everyone, you know, sees that, and you know, and it just looks a little better, again, elevating the look and feel of the profile. And then you can also be found in alumni searches as well then. So you want to make sure that you're really linking to the school. And then the other thing is make it clear what your degree was if you got a degree. So a lot of people who didn't finish a degree program for one reason or another, because life happens, will add, you know, studied sociology, which was my bachelor's, instead of, you know, Bachelor of Arts in Sociology, because they don't want to lie, which is perfectly acceptable, not to lie, but, you know, to add just what they studied. But if you did complete a degree, make sure that's obvious, because if you don't make it obvious, it'll just look like you studied something without the degree. So I see that a lot. It adds confusion. There's no reason to. If you got a degree, add it. If you didn't, I suggest just taking the education section out instead of trying to get around not making it look like a, you know, that you didn't finish, or, you know, kind of skirting around it, but just adding what you studied. In my opinion, just remove it altogether, and then people don't really notice that there's anything missing unless they're really looking for it.
What's the best practice if you're not currently working and you're laid off? Do you call yourself a consultant? Do you say you're open to new opportunities and titles? Is there any one best practice?
Yes. So my suggestion when I have clients that are laid off is don't update your profile in terms of your end date with your current company. Leave the, and I'm open to, I know there's a couple of experts in our field on the call, including Ken, so I'm open to conversation about this, but I suggest not changing anything there, because that way you'll still show up in potential recruiter searches. As soon as you have an end date there, you're not really showing up in searches anymore by the way that they do their search for passive candidates. And in the details about the role, I add in the top 3 lines so people can see it: laid off due to COVID-19, or laid off seeking new opportunities, doing this, this, and that. So that you're not lying, you're showing in there right away, I was laid off, but you're not shooting yourself in the foot by not showing up in searches. Or a lot of people are adding these consultant roles right now. Well, that's not really helping because it's not really a consultancy. You're not really going to have a ton of work to show for that. And when you start applying for things, it's going to look like either you're trying to get a business off the ground or you failed at a business and now you're going back to work. So none of those things are helpful, in my opinion. Keep your employment current. Show that you were laid off, though, in the little blurb that you write about it. And then same in your about section, you can add, you know, currently seeking opportunities, you know, doing this, 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 and this. Laid off due to COVID, but don't put those things in your headline. Just in the headline, it's what you do or the type of work you're looking for. And then, you know, but we don't want to add open to new opportunities everywhere all over your profile, because it's not moving the needle for you, and it can turn a lot of hiring managers off, which is really unfortunate, but a reality.
Great, thanks.
I had a question. This is Ken Mercurio on education. Have you ever looked at adding your high school? And before people laugh at that, why you would put your high school graduate. I live a few hours from my hometown, and it can open up conversations. because you'll find people that grew up in that same town because they know all the high schools.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't necessarily go to my high school, but we know all the neighboring high schools. Have you ever heard of people doing that?
So that's a great question. If I'm working with a client who currently has their high school listed, I always suggest removing it because it's no longer relevant, with the caveat of unless it's doing something for them, like starting a conversation, or it was a prominent private school that has a strong alumni base or name recognition, or there's some reason for it. So yeah, if it opens up conversations and you're still near your hometown, then leave it. Just take the graduation date off because that's not helping. But if there's really no reason for it other than to show that you finished high school, then take it out. But that's a great question.
I will add that there could be a security risk with that. People using that information for phishing.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, definitely take dates out.
Well, even that, they may say that they went to school with you, or tell a family member they went to school with you.
Okay.
So there is some risk.
Okay, good point. And so yeah, we need to think about that, guys, and verify information before we give out personal stuff.
Or it's also sometimes a security question answer.
Yes, sometimes it is the school. And like I said, I typically will tell people to leave it out. It's really 9 times out of 10 not helpful. Okay, let's see here. There we go. Okay, license and certifications. This was an update LinkedIn made, I don't know, a year ago or so, and it was hugely helpful, I think, of breaking out licenses and certifications separately. You can add the certifications again, same thing as in the education section. Make sure you're linking to the granting organization if there is one. I also make sure that you're only listing things that are relevant. If you have certifications, or I've seen a lot of people do the LinkedIn learning sessions, which are great, but then sometimes, I had a job seeker who her license and certifications, the only certification she had was LinkedIn Learning, which was great, but it was how to negotiate your salary. Not helpful if you're job seeking. So take things out that aren't helping add to your career story.
Is there an easy way to sort them?
Yes, if you don't add, let me think about that. I think I could be wrong. It's either in chronological order if you add dates, or it's by order of how you input them if you don't have dates.
So Deborah, is there anything with the featured sections? Are there anything you would suggest putting there?
Yes, yep, actually, I'll get there in about 2 seconds. I know we're running out of time here, but real quick, great question, Ken. Extra credit sections, recommendations. These are great to help show your value, what you bring against other candidates, and it's really the only opportunity to add soft skills that are really tangible, because we can say that we're detail oriented, but no one cares. Other people can say it, and it holds a lot more weight. It also has a tiny impact on keyword optimization as well. And another extra credit section, the accomplishment section, publications, which I also include speaking engagements under publications because LinkedIn doesn't have a section for that. Please, LinkedIn, add speaking engagements. Courses, honors and awards, languages, organizations, these are all ways to add more context to the work that you do. All of those are sections under accomplishments. And then featured, this is new. My opinion, LinkedIn didn't ask me, but I don't love it. But this is an opportunity to add links to, say for me, this is a website, and a link for me to, prominent news publications, that I've been featured in. You can also add, upload LinkedIn articles that you've written. So that's my third one here. And then you can also add posts. So whatever you want people to see about you, if you have some, a video of you speaking, or, media mentions, or a company website, things like that, you can put in the featured section. It shows right below your about section, or right above, somewhere, right around about. All right, and that's all I had. So questions?
I
have a question. Ken, can I ask a question?
Anyone can ask any questions, and if you guys want to go past 2 o'clock, just to let you know if it's okay with Deb. I may need to leave the call, but so is that okay with you as a possibility, Deb?
Yeah, that's fine. I'm available till about 2:30.
Okay, so I'm going to leave the call at 2 just in case, but go ahead.
All right, thanks, Ken. Yeah, again, you were going over, what to do in a situation where you were laid off. In my particular situation, I was discharged because of a downsizing due to a significant loss in business because of a factory closure, and COVID-19 certainly didn't help. So in my about section, is there some place where I could put a concise explanation, because I really don't have a choice but to put an end date with my last job, which was the end of March of this year.
Okay, so is there a reason you have to put an end date rather than leaving it open but then adding
right, I'm not sure. I just don't want to create any confusion or mislead anybody.
Right, and that's true. We definitely don't want to mislead anyone. If that's the case, yeah, I would add a little a couple lines in your about section saying, left my role in March due to the factory, like a decrease in work in COVID-19. Like just a line, just letting them know you're available, but it was due to no fault of your own.
Right. Okay. And I think most will know that, and everybody in my network. I mean, most everybody in my network that I've known is well aware of my situation, because there were others that are in my position as well.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good
Thank
point.
you. All right. Thank you very much.
Deborah, I have a question.
Yeah.
Hi, this is Melanie Veloso. You had mentioned earlier that it would be good to put your contact information in the About section. I was just wondering, is that necessary if you've already put your contact information in the profile info? For instance, like recruiters, do they look there, or do they not look there? Is that why you're suggesting putting it again in the About section?
So yeah, that's a really great question. So for recruiters, they'll know to look in your contact info. But the only people who can see your contact info are current connections. So it's basically making it available to everybody. The other thing is, a lot of my current connections who aren't recruiters may not be as savvy on LinkedIn to know to look there. So it kind of just gives them a foolproof way to find the information if they're not as savvy on LinkedIn to know where the contact section is.
Okay, I was just wondering if it would be taking up valuable real estate if, for the characters, if you could put other keywords or optimization stuff there instead of duplicating basically your contact information.
No, that's a really good point. And I think for job seekers or people who are hoping to be found by recruiters, contact information in the About section is not necessary. But for people who are doing business development and want to make sure that clients or potential clients can easily get a hold of them, for me, contact information is an important piece, but for candidates, not as much, because there's a lot of other ways to get in touch.
Right. Okay, great. Thanks.
So yeah, no, great question.
Hi, I have a question, Deborah. This is Regina.
Hi, Regina.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
Good. A question, I'm another one that got laid off because of COVID. They laid off half of my office. I was in a branch, and I'm pharmaceutical. I happen to be an executive assistant, and I've been contracting for the past 5 years because they outsource my job a lot, and that's just a trend for what I do. And before COVID, permanent jobs were just starting to come back, but then COVID came. So they totally closed off my office, and they're not going to even bring it back and even have the building anymore. A lot of people they're not going to renew their lease. So that's done. So I have to put an end date and put, that my contract was suspended because of COVID. I happen to have no end date. When I really want temp to perm because I'm sick of contracting, but is it okay for me to put an end date in that? And another thing, when you're seeking work, it gives you 2 buttons, because I'm still learning LinkedIn, because LinkedIn is there's too much information, you know what I mean, on it. You have to be a rocket scientist to figure it all out, and you have to look too perfect. I mean, everything you're saying is all great information for me, because I'm still learning on how to use it for what I do. But now it has that green thing around the circle of your picture that you're looking for work. I hate that. It looks so I hate to say
It's
this, I'll make it simple. It looks stupid.
No, it does. It's like branding everyone with a scarlet.
Yeah, I feel like a brand. So how do
Yeah.
you, I don't know if there's a way to take that off because they only gave you 2 buttons and I think one cuts you out. If you don't make yourself have it, then other people can't find you or something, I think. I'm not sure.
So you bring up a great point, and I'd like to do a little more research on this unless Ken's still on the call and has more information on this because it's so new that I don't remember. So if you
sorry. Oh, go ahead if it's Ken.
Basically, you can, if you don't put that in that frame, the only ones that'll see are the ones that have the recruiter package, recruiter seat package.
I don't have
in there, which is not the same as just recruiters or other people. So, you know, what I will say is they do a search on open to work. When they do their searches, that's a keyword search. So if you put it in, it's just another way that they can find you. But I don't have any specific statistics. But I would prefer not to have everyone know. I mean, really, what's the benefit?
I don't either. But if I leave it in, then I need everyone to find me, which means people, all my 500 connections or recruiters, the whole ball of wax. But they're branding you now, and I can't get rid of it. If I take it out, then what you said, you either have choice A or choice B, and I don't think that's fair. Whoever.
Why don't you just post a status update to your network that you're looking for a job?
Yeah, I was going to say the same thing, Ken. I think letting everyone know you're open and then sending, for anyone who's been laid off, send private messages to everyone as well, letting them know, here are the things I'm open for. Not to cut you off, Ken, that was just a really great point. You know, I've seen a lot of people add posts lately saying open to opportunities, but they're not adding what they're looking for or any information to help their network, help them find a role. And so, you know, definitely, you know, rather than brand yourself with the green circle, which makes
right. But it's a setting, Deborah. Somebody just said, and they're right. It's either one or the other. It's either open to work for recruiters or open to work for anyone. So which one is the better? Open to work to anyone if you have to be branded. And apparently LinkedIn is making you take that.
Right. But yes. And I would, my guess is, and don't quote me on this, but I would guess that LinkedIn's probably going to turn that around too, because there's been a lot of backlash against it. But yeah, but make sure you're reaching out, you know, not just being found on LinkedIn because there are so many people, but then also once your profile is up to date and optimized, send a post out, letting everyone know, and then also let everyone know in individual messages. That way, you know, you're not as much relying on letting all the recruiters find you, but then also trying to, you know, force the conversation with other people.
Okay. Yeah, I need help in that, I guess.
Excuse me, Deborah, can you possibly stop sharing your screen so that we can see the speaker?
Oh, absolutely.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Nope, that's great. 1 second. Stop share.
Yeah, hi, this is Dom. I don't know who asked that question. Whoops, sorry. Put my screen open. Don't know who asked that question, but to go back to what Deborah said and Ken said, you can also, what I have is I created a half a sheet of paper that I created and put all my contact information on there, you know, my 30-second pitch, what I was looking for, industries, that type of thing. Saved it as like a photo file, JPEG or something. And every once in a while, you can pop that up into your profile, or actually it's on the home page. You can pop it in there and it will tell everyone what you're looking for. And you can also select LinkedIn and Twitter, and it will also show up as a Twitter post. So it's pretty simple to do. Write out your stuff, half a sheet of paper on a Word document, and save it, obviously, and then post it every once in a while. I haven't done it in a while, but I'm thinking about doing it again.
Yeah, that's a great point, Dom. And if you create something that, you know, format it maybe a little bit like a resume, but easier to read, you can, you know, shorter, you can add it to your featured section as well as a document.
What was that?
They're going to finish now. They're about to finish.
Deborah, one thing I found that happens when I had that green news was I was contacted a lot by traders in Bitcoin and Forex. And as soon as I got rid of the green news, that stopped.
was 1 o'clock, not 2 o'clock. Oh my God.
Yeah, that's definitely an issue you have, or, you know, the State Farm people that are constantly trying to have you sell insurance. You know, insurance is fine, but they're like working overtime trying to bring people in any industry into insurance and things like that. Yeah, it does open you up to a lot of spam too. So, you know, I'd hate to see you guys get taken advantage of in that way, because so many people are looking for work and people are reaching out for anything.
Right, Deborah, it's Regina again. Is there a way to take off that news? Then I should put my last job that it didn't end yet, and just keep that open to get rid of the neuse.
Yes,
right.
And that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
Maybe put in the first line that the job has been suspended because of COVID, but leave that I'm still working there, and that's the only way to get rid of that news. Correct?
Regina, sorry, this is Melanie. That's
Yeah,
not
hi,
the
Melanie.
only way to get rid of it. You can get rid of it also just by selecting that you want it to be seen only by recruiters instead of everybody.
See, I need it for everybody so people can see me. If it's just by recruiters alone, you shouldn't just do that. Should you? Is that, I don't know what.
I think that's what everyone is suggesting, though, that you can still let everyone know that you're looking, but not with that green circle around your picture. Instead of doing it like that, you should actually just post articles or your information in your homepage so that people know that you're looking and they can reach out to you.
Yeah, what I did was I posted, I did the only recruiters, and then in my about right near the top, it says I have the open to work right in there. So I don't get the noose, and hopefully, you know, anybody sees it.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah.
Can you say that again? I'm sorry, Sam, say that again. Sorry about that.
I have I have the open to work section, only recruiters. I have in the top of my about, right near the top, I happen to put my contact information first, and then I specify that I am seeking new opportunities, and I use the open to work hashtag too.
Yeah, and even if you wanted to do that in your background photo or background, whatever you want to call it, you could put in there. I wouldn't put it in, 24 or 38,
right?
But 12-inch font.
Right.
Say open opportunities.
Yes, and just make sure anyone who's adding open to opportunities anywhere, except don't add it in your headline, make sure you're being really clear about the opportunities that you want. You know, make it foolproof for people to help you by knowing what you're qualified to do, the type of work you're looking for, your location, things like that. You know, people aren't going to do the extra step of finding out more about you. But if they see, oh, so-and-so wants this, oh, okay, I know about a role for that, and things like that. So just make sure don't miss the step of what you're looking for.
I gotta go. Thanks, Deborah. Thanks, Ken.
Thank you, Dom.
Thanks, everyone. Have a good.
Great to meet you.
Yeah, same here. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Deborah, it's Joey. I have a question if you have some time.
Yep. Hey, Joey.
So with all the people that are looking for work now, how can you, in your experience, calm people down or make them realize that it is important that they do stand out on their LinkedIn profile? And you gave some great suggestions. I'm just curious, in your experience, is there anything that we should be doing to just maintain our mentality and our sanity as we go through this process of looking for work?
Right. No, that's a really great point. Yeah, a few things. You know, I think even though people are going to know why you were laid off or why there's a gap, you know, and especially if you were laid off in March and you're still off now, and so many people are, I think it's going to be important to show what you've been doing with your time, and also it helps mentally to be able to be focused on something that isn't just your job search. And so, you know, professional development is a really great way to do that. And there's a lot of very low cost or free ways to do that. Either taking, you know, courses on LinkedIn Learning, Coursera and Udemy are also great options for low cost, you know, help you upskill in different areas that maybe, you know, you could brush up on a little bit more, learn some different skills for software, or, you know, they've also got soft skills things, negotiating, things like that. I think, you know, it's a great way to show what you've been doing with your time, and also add new things to your keywords, you know, for your resume and your LinkedIn profile. and to just kind of give you something else to focus on. Because I think when you're applying for jobs all day, you're getting rejection after rejection that has nothing to do with you. It can be really, really hard. I think the other thing is to make sure that maybe, you know, network with a group of other unemployed. I don't know if you guys are familiar, their content has been phenomenal, but 1,000 Hires has been doing webinars, and they have a lot of free content, and they have been putting out some really great information on, they actually had a webinar the other day on long-term unemployed and what to do to keep your spirits up. I think some of those things are really helpful. I'm a social animal, so I know, especially during quarantine and things like that, I need to be with other people, which obviously during quarantine doesn't work very well, but I think anytime you can do, you know, things with other people, know you're not alone, know you're not the only person looking, and I think that some of those things are helpful too, because I think that we can kind of get in our own hole of you know, feeling like it's just us, and it's not. And so that's a good point.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. The other thing I would just to add to that just a little bit is, you know, you'd mentioned having to stand out. You know, I know this is beyond the scope of this call, but, you know, if you apply for a job online, you know, so many other people are applying for the jobs online, and different keywords and things like that, you may never show up to a hiring manager. It's important to then use LinkedIn to reach out to who you think the hiring manager might be, even if you're wrong, or the internal recruiter or someone in HR, just to try to get a human conversation going. You know, reach out and say, hey, I've applied for this role, find their email, send them that instead, because a lot of times, not a lot of times, but sometimes that can start a conversation. I know I did that for a role, and I actually went through all the steps of interviewing and an on-site live interview before the job ever opened, because I was reaching out to internal recruiters, things like that. So make sure, you know, don't just rely on online applications. Make sure you're really reaching out to your network and talking to people as much as you can, because that's, and it'll just help, you know, mentally too, if not just staring at a database all day.
Great, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. Any other questions?
To let everyone know, I've been recording this. I'll put the recording up once it's done. Thank you all for coming. Deborah, thank you so much. This has been so helpful.
Yeah, no problem. And in the chat, one more thing I meant to add is I put together a list of free resources for people who have been impacted by COVID. I'm going to add that to the chat here, because it has some resume templates and some links to some of the things we talked about today, and some information on job searches. So feel free to, oh, I just sent it to one person. Sorry, Wilma's the only one who got it. There we go. So that way, you know, feel free to use any of that information that you need. I'm happy to help.
Deborah, last question.
Yeah.
This is Arifa. So is it too late? I've ended my job because I was told that if I don't end my job, I was an executive director, and if I don't end my job, then no one is looking for me because they see that I'm already employed. I can't take that back, can I?
You can just go in to edit it, but make sure the toggle that alerts your network is turned off, and go ahead and add back to present, but just make sure you don't alert your network, because then you'll get a bunch of congratulations messages about getting a job. And that's not helpful, but yeah, you can go ahead and edit that and fix the date back to present, but then just add in the top line, you know, that you were laid off due to COVID.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, no problem. All right, anything else? It was really fun talking to you guys today.
Thank you.
Thank you, Deborah. This was very helpful.
Deborah, you were great. You were great, Deborah. Deborah, how would we reach you if we need to talk to you further, or to ask any other questions, or to get coached by you, or anything else of what you do offer? Is there anything?
Yeah, let me add at the bottom of the chat here, I will add my contact information again, because I had it somewhere in here at the very beginning, but yep, I'll add, oh, there it is.
Thank you. You were excellent. Thank you. And to everyone, it was a great group. It was really informative, very informative. It was the most, I'm new to this group only like maybe 2 or 3 times, and I'm not good with the LinkedIn at all because of what I do. And I can see how everybody else has an upper hand on it. So I'm learning from everyone else. So I greatly appreciate it and need the help. So thank you to everyone.
That's what makes this group so great. We all help each other out too.
Oh, it's wonderful. It's the best. Thank you.
It is. I've learned a ton from Ken, so this has been so helpful. Thank you guys. Thanks for the opportunity. And yeah, reach out to me on LinkedIn. Happy to help. Happy to chat. Happy to give a resume review, whatever you need.
Thanks. I do have one quick question. I had somebody that emailed me from LinkedIn that they had an opening, which I've been waiting for 6 months for one thing. And he only wanted me to connect with him in order to even find out about the job or what it is or anything. And when I went to do it, I don't have premium. So I don't even know how else to get a hold of the guy. He has nothing else in his profile. So I don't know what you do in that case.
Did you send him a connection request?